Okay, hi everyone. It is May 26th, 2022. Welcome to the Helm dev meeting. Here is the link to, I will paste in the chat the link.
I already
for the
pasted
meeting notes.
I already pasted the
Oh, you
notes.
did? Okay, thank you. Great. Yeah, so we've got announcements. There's one announcement on here, which was KubeCon EU. That's a big topic. I guess anybody want to give an update? I could certainly help. Well, I'll say categories. Yeah.
I think Bridget put this on here, but I thought so. I was bummed out because the room that the Helm talk was in was so small that many people were turned away, plus the signage and trying to get there. So I think for next year, that would be good feedback. If you haven't given it already, remember there's a survey for KubeCon organizers, and I'll try to go find it and put it in the notes. But anyway, I heard the talk went really well, and I'd love to hear your take and Andy's take on it.
Yeah. Andy, you feel like going first, or I'm happy to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought that it was a good session. The crowd was very engaging from those who were actually able to make it into the room. I hope that we get some additional contributors that come as part of that. That was really our goal, is to get people excited about the Helm project.
Yeah, yeah. It seemed the feedback that I heard so far was very good. I also felt there was engagement from the people that were able to make it in the room, and yeah, boo for those who couldn't. It's always nice to. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like leave folks wanting, but that's not actually our goal. Our goal is to include everyone. So that.
What does that? What does that mean? That the room was full and they couldn't get in, or?
I mean, there were like, it's hard to say how many people. Someone said there were at least 50 people. Someone else said it was just like absolutely swamped. I don't know how many people were out who couldn't get in the room.
I would say about half were turned away. So it was a 50-person room and the line was out the door. And this wasn't just a Helm issue. This was all the talks in that area of the venue had the same problem.
Yeah. But hey, thanks, Karina. I'll definitely give feedback. I appreciate that reminder. The Helm booth went really well. On the KubeCon topic. I know that Matt Butcher and Karen and oh my gosh, I mean, Martin, who else from Helm team was there when I was around? I'm not sure, but there were certainly a number of folks from our team who made rounds in the booth. And luckily, we had asked, because I'm like a crossover maintainer between this and another Helm and another project, asked if those booths could be co-located or similar, close to one another, so that I could skip between the two. And they said, yes, sure. So it was easy for me to do that as needed. We had the QR code for folks to fill out the form. I don't know how many people have yet, but a bunch of people said they were going to or did. Some user feedback for the project.
So we'll follow up with Karen and find out results from that. So yeah, awesome.
Cool. Any other? Oh, one more announcement we should make, right? It's not really within Helm scope, but just one thing that was announced is where the next KubeCon is going to be. So, well, we know in North America it's going to be Detroit, but it's going to be in Amsterdam next. That was kind of cool. One thing why that's related to Helm only is because we've been discussing for months now having a Helm contributor summit, the second one, in Detroit. So if that continues to be a thing that we want to do, then we'll be talking about KubeCon soon again, because CFPs are due, I think, on June 3rd, really soon. Oh yeah, that's another point. If folks in this group or anyone listening to this recording hear that in time and didn't already know, we're already working hard on that date. Proposals for talks that relate to Helm would be totally fine to chat about with members of the group and on Slack. And maybe there would be other people who want to collaborate. That's my only 2 cents. Not trying to take over this meeting. I just, I think I had a few things to say. Anything else on KubeCon EU? Okay. Discussion items. There are a few. Helm survey. Oh,
Yeah, so there's we have 28 responses so far, and if we can just push it out and someone can post it on the Helm Slack channel, if we can tweet or post something, then I think that would really help. So just a request.
Awesome. Thank you. I should have read farther down before I said that.
Oh,
Right?
that's okay.
And do you pronounce your name Jello?
Yes, that's correct, Jayla.
J-Lo.
Thank you.
Hi. And just to be clear, you were asking if we could post the results on the Slack channel or a link to the.
Oh no, just a link to the survey, and I've added that, and I can just make it more clear. I can just add it. This is the link. If you can just post this, just to maybe if you can even get 100 responses, I think that's a bit ambitious, but it'd be nice feedback.
Cool. All right. Yeah, everyone please do this. Okay, I'm gonna do it too. I don't think anybody needs to be excluded, even if we're really involved with Helm in one way or the other. You know, we can all fill it out. Igor is next.
Hi. Well, probably the link like showed that I worked at Red Hat, right? So we are working internally in a project that we called Helm Dump, which is similar to other projects, is a way to extract and maintain Helm charts from running clusters. Right, so this is an early contribution, but the idea is to have this project to be the center of tooling regarding Helm charts, right? Although we already have some things related to YAML, right, using schemas and stuff like that, I think that the approach that we are taking there is to actually find ways to help developers to move values and template values from values.yaml to templates and the other way around, right? We're trying to approach this from a more programmatic way, trying to maintain state between both. So the idea is to help developers to extract and then interact with the Helm chart. So this is, like I said, this is an early stage, but we see that there is an interest in the community to help Helm developers to actually do this. So this is a shout out to people that might be interested, and we are working on that. So yeah, so if you find cool, let us know as well.
That's awesome. Can I ask you, or sorry, did anyone else have a question first? Okay, do you mind if I ask you a question about this?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Um, sorry, I'm now trying to find, oh, there it is, Helm done. Yeah, so does it do anything with creating any kind of templating, or is it does it say, hey, I don't want to be opinionated about that at all. I'm just going to basically like kube control get YAML these resources and make sure to add the Helm labels, or how?
Not only that, right?
Okay.
So the idea is to, yes, like that. So the first we're thinking on a workflow, right, where you initialize a Helm chart by selecting some resources from a cluster, right? Once you have that, the next step is to offer some commands to the user to be able to interact with that, right? So for example, one would be take all the spec.replicas of all deployments that we have and transfer those to values.yaml, right? So this would be one batch of operations. Next, we envision to do the other way around. Given these values in values.yaml, put them back on templates and remove these from values.yaml, right? So deal with these with a more, I would say that this is a syntax, like an abstract syntax tree problem, right? So we want to create this view of the project and be able to move values from one side to the other. The idea is to connect this in the future with events on text editors, for example, right? You go to your Helm chart, you have a Helm chart project, you go to a template, control dot in VS Code, and you say, put this into values.yaml for me. And then you could do all of them, for example, all of the deployments, a single deployment or whatnot. And this is not related only to a deployment or a workload, but you could do, the idea is that you can do this with any sort of resource. So yes, there is templating, right? So basically this program would create the templates in behalf of the user and do that accordingly with the usage.
Got it. Wow, this is a really awesome project. There was something similar that was worked on like years and years ago, but it didn't really make it very far.
Yeah, there are a couple of projects, Chartify and other things, but the approach that we're taking on these is to act as a Helm plugin as well, right? So there's no need to do another application if we can handle these to a Helm plugin. Yeah, so that's the project that we are working on.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah.
Also, I love that it's written in Go as well, so that you know, Helm plugins are really usable for the CLI.
Yeah.
For SDK users, a lot of plugins aren't really reusable, but the ones that properly create packages are. So yay, thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And this is another objective is to how do we leverage Golang with Helm plugins, right? There are a couple of examples here and there, but it's most I would say that most of the functionality is already in Helm. There are a couple of patches that we can push upstream to make that easier, right? Most of the things are there already. The CLI environment settings and stuff like that helps a lot, but there are a couple of integration points regarding Helm plugins that could be contributed as well. So there's opportunity there.
It's also a testing aspect. Like if you're in the middle of, massaging your Helm chart in a project, in an IDE, for example, right? You could easily test, right? These valid resources that are rendered You could do the template. You're going to reuse template. You can reuse the Helm dry run, right? So the user will be able to, as is building the Helm chart, right there on the IDE tests, right?
Yeah, so
That's-
you're mentioning, you're talking about testing logically, right? So if I
Yeah.
have, for example, a resource that came from the cluster, I can pass those filters and those make those manipulations and then render a resource and see whether or not it matches, right? So
Right.
that is one idea as well.
Very cool. May I just make one other, I have one other question about this, since I know we don't have a huge topic list, but well, I know where the project is, so I can put an issue on it as well. But since you're presenting and you're here, like, you know, when it comes to what decisions are made for templating, you know, there's really no one answer. Is part of the intent to allow people to somehow configure that? Is it planned to just follow best practices that are listed either in the Helm docs or some of the best practices that are in the now deprecated Helm charts repo that haven't made its way to docs yet? Or is it kind of Red Hat's opinionated way of doing it? Or
No. So I started from the principle that everything should be programmatic, right? So we're doing, I think that the approach we're taking here is scaffolding the commands as we see fit to allow developers to manipulate freely, right? So it's not a tool made for Red Hat, but it's a tool to allow developers to specify, and that's important because if you start thinking about this type of projects, like you need to keep state, intermediate state, you need to do a lot of different things, and even you need to start recording which transformations the developer has asked. So for example, if I want to repeat the operation, right, I should be able to. So before we can have an opinionated set of rules, right, we need to allow us to build those rules, right? So this is all about building a structure to allow developers to specify that, because like again, every time that you do a manipulation, you do that from a known state, right? So we need to keep, for example, like David said, the initial state stored somewhere, right? So we take the initial resource, we store it somewhere, and then later on, as we do the changes on this resource, we reapply all the changes, or the idea is to reapply all the changes on that initial resource, right? So you're never dealing, you're not never manipulating the outcome of a change, right? And this is important because templates make YAML files invalid, right? And that it was the first challenge to determine how do we manipulate that? And since we deal with potentially invalid YAML resources at the end, we need to keep the state since the beginning, right?
Right.
And this is why we build a set of rules, set of actions that are going to be applied to different sort of resources, right? So the idea is that you can specify, I want all the resources that have spec.replicas or only deployments or only replica sets, right? So the idea is to offer this level of flexibility where the developer can choose which resources they want to move freely the data from one side to the other. Right. So
I'm really excited about this, by the way. There was an idea like quite a number of years ago to add a wizard to Helm create that would do a kind of similar thing to this. But this looks great. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's cool that there's interest on that, so we can keep it posted more often then. Thank you.
Very cool. That was the last topic on the list. Does anyone else have, there is always the question at the end about assignments for the next call. Does anyone have any other things that they wanted to note? Either that we could bring up now quickly or save for next, or push forward to next week that you weren't able to write on the doc?
I'm having an issue that maybe this is a good time since, well, how much time do we have?
We've got 6
6 minutes.
minutes. How about this? Why don't we
Yeah.
start with like assigning the notes moderator and triage?
Yeah,
And
let's
then
do
with
that.
the last few minutes, we can get to that.
We don't have time anyways. I think this is a bigger discussion.
Is it? Do you want to
yeah.
note it for next time?
Yes, I'll put it in the agenda then for
Okay.
for next.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it looks like Karina offered to be moderator. Is that right? Or did someone else write your name down?
I offered if nobody else is going to, so if you want to do notes.
Cool. Sure. Oh, let me just make sure. When is our next? Sorry, 1 second. Thursday, the 2nd. So sure. Actually, here's a question. Does anyone else? Sorry. Does anyone else want to? My bad. That was totally me. Does anyone else want to do notes? Who's on the call? And can anyone do triage? I'll do notes if no one else wants to.
So Scott, I think between you and Andy are the only ones that could do triage.
Yeah, I have not finally. I could just, you know what? I would tag team with Andy if you wanted to. I know that we're like creeping up on the CFP deadline for KubeCon's Detroit, so that's my only concern. But then again, if someone, I haven't shadowed yet, believe it or not. So
Andy?
Make it happen. Let's make it happen, Scott.
let's make it
Awesome.
happen. We'll figure it out. Yeah, and I'll reach out or we can reach out to someone if we need to.
Okay, then we have notes. Would anybody else like to try notes? Jalem, I know you've been. I'm just gonna
I
start
can do
following
notes.
people. Okay,
I can do notes.
cool. Okay.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Well then, we all get a few minutes of our lives back. Not that this isn't the best place to be. It is, in my opinion. But we will all see you next week.
Yep. Ciao.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.